My name is Sarah Thompson, and for the first 12 years of my life, things were pretty simple. We lived in a cozy two-bedroom house on the outskirts of a small town in Ohio, the kind of place where everyone knew your name and the biggest excitement was the annual county fair. My mom, Linda, worked as a nurse at the local hospital, pulling long shifts but always making time for me. My dad had passed away when I was 5, a sudden heart attack that left us both reeling. But Mom and I had built a little world together, just the two of us. We'd bake cookies on rainy afternoons, watch old movies on Friday nights, and take walks in the park where she'd tell me stories about Dad. I remember the day she told me about Mark. It was a sunny Saturday in spring, and we were planting flowers in the front yard. She had this nervous smile on her face, twisting her gardening gloves in her hands. "Sarah, honey," she said, kneeling down to my level, "I've met someone special. His name is Mark, and he's really nice. I think you'd like him." At first, I was excited. Mom had been alone for so long, and I could see the loneliness in her eyes sometimes, especially on holidays. Mark seemed okay when I met him, a tall guy with a kind laugh, who worked as an accountant in the city. He brought me a stuffed bear on their first date that included me, and he asked about my school projects like he actually cared. But what I didn't know then was that Mark came with his own history, his own family. Specifically, a daughter named Emily. Emily was exactly my age, down to the month. When Mom and Mark announced their engagement 6 months later, everyone around us cooed about how perfect it was. "Instant sisters," my Aunt Judy exclaimed at the engagement party, clapping her hands like it was the best news ever. "You'll have someone to share secrets with, do each other's hair, all that fun stuff." I smiled politely, but inside, I felt a twinge of unease. Our house was small. Would we have to move? And what if Emily didn't like me? The wedding was a whirlwind. It happened in a quaint chapel downtown, with white lilies and a reception at the community hall. I was the flower girl, tossing petals down the aisle while Emily stood awkwardly beside her dad, wearing a matching dress that looked too frilly on her. She had long, straight blonde hair, nothing like my curly brown locks, and piercing blue eyes that seemed to size me up from across the room. We barely spoke that day. "Hi," I mumbled when our parents introduced us properly. "Hi," she echoed, her voice flat, before turning back to her phone. After the honeymoon, reality set in. Mark and Emily moved into our house, which meant squeezing 4 people into a space meant for 2. Mom suggested Emily and I share my room to bond. I protested, why couldn't Emily take the guest room? But Mom's eyes pleaded with me. "Please, Sarah, it's just temporary until we can afford a bigger place. Blended families take time." My room had always been my sanctuary, posters of my favorite bands on the walls, a bookshelf crammed with fantasy novels, and a desk where I drew comics about magical adventures. Now, half of it was Emily's. She arrived with boxes of stuff, designer clothes, makeup kits that looked way too grown up for a 12-year-old, and a collection of porcelain dolls that stared creepily from the shelves. The first night, I tried to make conversation. "So, what do you like to do for fun?" I asked, sitting cross-legged on my bed. Emily shrugged, unpacking a pink laptop. "Stuff. Shopping, hanging with friends. Not whatever this is." She gestured vaguely at my side of the room, her nose wrinkling like it smelled bad. I laughed it off, thinking she was just nervous. But the next morning, I woke up to find my favorite poster, a vibrant illustration of a dragon, torn down and crumpled in the trash. "What happened?" I asked, fishing it out. "Oh, it fell," Emily said innocently, applying lip gloss in the mirror. "Must have been the tape." That was the beginning. Over the next few weeks, little things went missing. My hairbrush, a necklace from my dad, even my homework folder. I'd find them later, accidentally, misplaced in Emily's drawer or under her bed. When I confronted her, she'd bat her eyelashes. "I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you're just forgetful." I told Mom about it one evening while she was making dinner. Emily's messing with my stuff, Mom. It's not fair. Mom sighed, stirring the pasta sauce. Sarah, give it time. She's adjusting too. Her mom left when she was little, you know. Be the bigger person. Be the bigger person. That became Mom's mantra. Mark echoed it, patting my shoulder awkwardly. Girls will be girls, he'd say with a chuckle, as if it was all harmless fun. But it wasn't. By the end of that first summer, Emily had escalated. We'd be playing board games as a family, and she'd knock over my pieces by accident. At the pool, she'd splash water in my face. Until I choked, laughing it off as a joke. And the whispers started. You're not really part of this family, she'd hiss when our parents were out of earshot. My dad only married your mom because he felt sorry for her. I cried myself to sleep more nights than I could count, hugging the stuffed bear Mark had given me like it was a lifeline. School started in the fall, and I hoped it would be an escape. But Emily and I were in the same grade at Jefferson Middle School, and word got around quickly that we were sisters. Teachers paired us for projects, kids asked if we were twins. Emily played along in public, smiling sweetly, but in private, she'd sabotage everything. For our first group assignment, she forgot to do her part, leaving me scrambling. When I got a B instead of my usual A, she smirked. See? You're not as smart as you think. As we entered 7th grade, the differences between us became stark. I was the quiet type, good at art, buried in books, with a small circle of friends like Mia and Josh, who shared my love for drawing and video games. Emily, on the other hand, was outgoing, charming when she wanted to be. She quickly joined the popular crowd, the girls who wore lip gloss and talked about boys. Her dad spoiled her rotten. New clothes every week, a phone before anyone else in our class, allowance that dwarfed mine. At home, the invasions continued. One day, I came back from school to find my diary open on my bed, pages rifled through. I'd written about how much I missed Dad, how weird it felt having Mark around. Emily confronted me later in the kitchen. Boo-hoo, poor little orphan, she mocked, imitating my handwriting. No wonder your dad died, he couldn't stand you. I slapped her. It was the first time I'd ever hit anyone. She screamed, and our parents came running. Tears streaming down her face, she pointed at me. She hit me for no reason. Mom pulled me aside, her face stern. Sarah, what has gotten into you? We don't solve problems with violence. But she read my diary. I protested, my voice breaking. Mom glanced at Emily, who was being comforted by Mark. I'm sure it was an accident. Apologize, honey. I did, through gritted teeth, but the resentment festered. From then on, Emily's pranks got sneakier. She'd spill juice on my homework right before it was due, claiming clumsiness. My art supplies would disappear, only to turn up ruined in the trash. And the rumors started at school. Whispers in the hallway. Sarah's adopted. Her real parents didn't want her. I confronted her in the girls' bathroom one day. Why are you doing this? She flipped her hair. Because it's fun. And because I can. 8th grade brought more torment. I tried out for the school play, something I'd always wanted to do. I got a small role, excited to finally have something of my own. But Emily, who hadn't even auditioned, showed up at rehearsals to support me. She'd make faces from the audience, distracting me until I flubbed lines. Then, the night before opening, my costume went missing. It turned up in the dumpster, covered in mud. The director blamed me for carelessness, and I had to sit out. Mom's response? These things happen. Maybe next time. I started withdrawing. My grades slipped a bit, not enough to alarm anyone, but enough that I felt lost. Mia noticed and tried to help. Ignore her, she'd say during lunch. She's just jealous because you're actually talented. But jealousy? Emily had everything. Looks, popularity, our parents' favor. Mark doted on her, buying her whatever she wanted, while Mom bent over backward to keep the peace. Holidays were the worst. Thanksgiving that year, we all sat around the table, pretending to be grateful. Emily kicked me under the table, hard enough to bruise. When I yelped, she feigned innocence. Sorry, my foot slipped. Christmas was no better. I asked for a new sketchbook. Emily got a laptop. Thanks, Daddy, she squealed, hugging Mark. Mom gave me a tight smile. We have to be fair, Sarah. Fair. That word lost all meaning. High school was supposed to be a fresh start. Jefferson High was bigger, with more kids, more chances to blend in. But Emily made sure I didn't. On the first day, she accidentally bumped into me in the hall, spilling my books everywhere. Laughter echoed as I scrambled to pick them up. She joined the cheerleading squad, becoming even more popular. I stuck to art club and the literary magazine, finding solace in creating worlds where I could control the outcomes. But Emily's influence spread like poison. She started rumors that I was weird, that I talked to myself, that my dad had left because I was crazy. Kids I'd known since elementary school started avoiding me. Mia stuck by me, but even she got targeted. Hang out with the loser much longer, and you'll be one too, Emily told her one day. I tried talking to the school counselor, Mrs. Hale. My stepsister is bullying me, I said, tears welling up. Mrs. Hale nodded sympathetically. Blended families can be tough. Have you talked to your parents? Of course I had. Multiple times. But Mom always said the same thing. Emily's going through a phase. Don't rock the boat. The sabotage peaked junior year. I had a crush on a boy named Alex from art class. He was sweet, with messy hair and a passion for painting. We started talking, and he asked me to the winter dance. I was over the moon, finally, something good. But Emily found out. She cornered Alex in the cafeteria. You know Sarah's adopted, right? Her real family gave her up because she's unstable. Just warning you. Alex backed off, canceling our date with a lame excuse. I confronted Emily that night in our room. Why? What did I ever do to you? She laughed, a cold, bitter sound. You exist. This was my dad and me before your mom ruined it. You're the intruder. Her words cut deep because part of me felt the same about her. But I hadn't started this war. Senior year, I focused on escape. I applied to colleges far away, worked after-school jobs at a coffee shop to save money. Emily, meanwhile, partied, dated the quarterback, and coasted on her charm. Our parents beamed at her report cards, B's and C's, but she's so social. Mine were straight A's, but try to make more friends, Sarah. Graduation was bittersweet. I walked across the stage, diploma in hand, knowing I'd be gone soon. Emily clapped politely, but her eyes said it all. Good riddance. College was my salvation. I chose State University, 3 hours away, majoring in graphic design. The dorm was tiny, but it was mine. No shared space, no whispers in the dark. I worked 2 jobs, barista by day, freelance illustrator by night. Mom and Mark helped a little with tuition, but not much. Emily needs braces, Mom explained once. And her car insurance went up. Emily stayed home, attending community college sporadically, living off Mark's generosity. She got a part-time job at a boutique but quit after a month. Too boring, she complained. I visited for holidays, the tension thick as fog. Thanksgiving. Emily monopolized the conversation, bragging about her latest boyfriend. Christmas. She unwrapped gifts worth hundreds while I got socks and a gift card. Easter. She forgot to set a place for me at the table. In my 20s, I built a life. Graduated with honors, landed a job at a design firm in the city. I rented a small apartment, dated casually, made new friends who didn't know my history. But the resentment lingered. Every call home, Mom would gush about Emily. She's starting a new job. She met this great guy. While my achievements got a quick, "That's nice, honey." At 25, I met Ryan. He was a software engineer, kind and funny, with no baggage. We dated for a year before he proposed. I said yes, excited for a future untainted by the past. But when I told Mom, her first question was, "Will Emily be in the wedding?" The wedding planning was hell. Emily insisted on being a bridesmaid, then complained about the dress color. At the rehearsal dinner, she flirted with Ryan's best man, causing drama. On the day, she accidentally stepped on my train, ripping it slightly. Mom hushed me when I snapped. "Don't ruin the day, Sarah." Ryan saw through it. "Your family's toxic," he said later. "You don't have to keep pretending." But I did, for Mom's sake. Until I turned 27. It started with a phone call from Mom. "Emily's engagement is off," she said, voice trembling. "Brad cheated on her. She's devastated." Emily had been engaged to Brad, a flashy real estate agent she'd met at a party. They'd seemed perfect, matching Instagram posts, lavish dates. But now, it was over. Then, her job at the marketing firm fired her for performance issues. Rumors swirled. She'd been slacking, missing deadlines, relying on charm that didn't work in the real world. Suddenly, Emily was back in her childhood room, our old shared space, crying into pillows. Mark tried to console her, buying her treats, but even he seemed frustrated. "You need to grow up," I overheard him say once. Mom called me weekly, begging for advice. "Talk to her, Sarah. Your sisters." I visited reluctantly. Emily looked different. No makeup, hair in a messy bun, eyes red from tears. "What do you want?" she snapped when I entered. "Just checking in," I said neutrally. She broke down. "Everything's falling apart. Brad left, work hates me, Dad's mad. Why does this happen to me?" For a moment, I felt a spark of schadenfreude. Karma, finally. But as she sobbed, I saw the girl from 12 years ago, scared, lashing out. "Life's hard," I said softly. "But you can rebuild." We talked for hours. She admitted some things. Jealousy over my relationship with Mom, fear of being replaced. I shared my pain, the years of hurt. It wasn't a Hallmark moment, no hugs, no instant forgiveness. But it was a start. That conversation shifted something in me. I realized I'd spent years waiting for her downfall, letting hate poison my joy. Ryan and I were happy, my career thriving. I had a life she'd never touched. Over the next 3 years, Emily and I coexisted. She'd text occasionally, "Happy birthday." I'd reply the same. At family gatherings, no more kicks under the table. Mom noticed, relieved. "See? Time heals." At 30, I'm at peace. Emily's piecing her life together, a new job, therapy. We're not close, but the war's over. I don't need her approval or downfall. I have my own healing, my own story. And that's enough.